How do you do? You gentlemen, of course, know how to push a product. That essentially is your job. My presence here is for much the same purpose, simply to push a product. To acquaint you with an entertainment product which we hope and which we rather expect will make your product pushing that much easier. What you're about to see, gentlemen, is a series called The Twilight Zone. We think it's a rather special kind of series. Essentially, people watch television to get entertained. And the keynote of this series, the thing we're concerned with, the thing we're aiming for, the thing we're working toward is entertainment. This is a series for the storyteller, because it's our thinking that an audience will always sit still and listen and watch a well-told story. And now that I've immodestly gone on record predicting the high quality of this series, let me very briefly show you what we mean by a special kind of series. You know, writers in general are notoriously bad verbal tellers of stories. We do much, much better behind a typewriter. So I hope you'll bear with me while I tell you about a few stories that happen to be the first ones we're shooting in our current production cycle. This is sand. It represents desert. The desert that you'll see on your screen in a story we call The Lonely. The Lonely is about a man sentenced to a lifetime of solitary confinement. The confinement takes place on a sandy asteroid far out in space. It's the story about a man slowly succumbing to a kind of nightmarish loneliness, a gradual disintegration of mind and body because human beings have that palpable need for companionship. A most benevolent and compassionate official sends the prisoner a long rectangular box containing, well, a machine. A machine inside of a robot built in the form of a woman. It's a robot that talks and acts like a human being. A robot that thinks like a human being. Gentlemen, I can only tell you that The Lonely, which involves a man and a woman made out of plastic and wires with a machine for a heart, will provide a most bizarre experience. As to the physiological extensions of their relationship, that is, man and female machine, and what they do in their spare time, we're leaving this wide open. Object and point here, a file cabinet containing a contract, all very legal and proper, except the party of the first part in this case. Well, what do we call him? He has a lot of names. Beelzebub, Mr. Scratch. No. Well, that happens to be the party of the first part in a somewhat charred contract. Only in our story, which we call Escape Clause, his name is simply Mr. Cadwallader. As portrayed, he has all the charm of a well-tipped waiter. He makes a deal with a little man who has a psychotic fear of dying. It's really a simple contract. Mr. Cadwallader supplies the immortality, and the little man supplies his soul. And then our little man proceeds to live it up, or down, depending on the moral view. But he gets bored with immortality, and he then proceeds to live a very out-of-the-ordinary kind of a life. A life best described as simply violent. He was so bored with constantly being the only survivor. So he now turns to homicide, happily aware that while a jury may convict him, there isn't a single legal modus operandi that the state can use to put him away. A gas chamber? Impossible. They can't kill him. Hanging, electrocution, none of these things are operative in our little friend. He's immortal. But what happens, and we'd be most appreciative if you wouldn't tell this to your friends, is that a very good lawyer pleads his case and gets him life imprisonment. Poor little guy. Yeah, he has immortality. He can live forever, right here, behind these things. We'll hold up on telling you the ending. Just think about it. It'll come to you. Parenthetic note here. On the Twilight Zone, there'll be a variety of stories. And this is a variety that covers not only story type, but time, locale, the nature of the people. For example, this is a Western called Death, Destry, and Mr. Dingle. And this is the principal character in the story. It's a Colt 45. There's a schoolmaster named Dingle who picks up this gun one day, finding it in the schoolyard. Quite accidentally, it goes off on a couple of occasions. First, it hits a rattlesnake between the eyes at 50 yards. Then it knocks the gun out of a desperado's hand. And while it's all quite accidental, the various onlookers make an assumption that Mr. Dingle's a pretty fast gun. And they start to build not only a reputation for this spindly little dude, but also almost a reverent tradition. And as in the classic Western mold, every top gun in and out of the territory converge on the town, ready to invite Mr. Dingle, poor little Mr. Dingle, who really doesn't know how to use a gun, to a showdown. So, Mr. Dingle buys himself a little vial full of liquid, and it's simply out of this world, because it comes with a money-back guarantee, simply that it will make him the fastest gun in the West for 15 seconds. It's this vial he carries into a saloon one night, ready to meet at gunpoint a gentleman called Dirty Dan Destry, a fast gun in his own right. So fast he makes Hugh O'Brien look like Charles Colburn. But when the two men face one another and Mr. Dingle drinks his liquid with the money-back guarantee, he suddenly sees in the hand of his opponent a very familiar vial, identical with his own. I won't tell you the ending, except that it's reasonably happy, if unexpected. I hope I haven't done these stories an injustice, because they'll be much better told by actors in front of a camera, as you'll soon note in the picture you're about to see. All I can tell you is that we think the Twilight Zone is pretty unique. We think it'll be much talked about, and we think it'll also be enjoyed. We think it's the kind of a show that will put people on the edge of their seats, but only for that one half an hour. We fully expect they'll go to the stores on the following day and buy your products. We think it's that kind of a show. So now the ham walks off to allow the real object and point to entertain you. The pilot show of your series. Earl Holliman, James Gregory, starring in Where Is Everybody? So, gentlemen, please sit back and take your first trip into the Twilight Zone. See what I mean? And this is really nothing compared to the way Instant Sanka will be disappearing off grocery counters come this fall.
And now, Mr. Serling.
I'm about to show you a picture of something that isn't what it looks like. Pleasant little town, it isn't this at all. It's a nightmare. It's a chilling, frightening journey of one man into a mystifying unknown. You're invited to join that man in a most unique experience. Next week, Earl Holliman asks, and you'll ask with him, where is everybody?
Here's an item we forgot. A moment for the people who pay the tab. It's often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Case in point. Before we meet again, try Oasis. You'll know what I mean.
Next week, I'll have a reunion with a unique talent and a valued friend. Our first since Requiem for a Heavyweight. Next week on the Twilight Zone, Mr. Ed Wynn stars in One for the Angels, playing an old pitchman who sells mechanical toys like this, but whose competition is Mr. Death. We hope you'll join us then. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, we invite you to take a walk down a western frontier street at the elbow of a doomed gunman whose salvation lies in nothing less than a magic potion and a Colt 45. Mr. Dan Duryea stars in Mr. Denton on Doomsday, next week on the Twilight Zone. We hope you'll be able to be with us. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
This motion picture projector and this film provide a background to next week's story when a most distinguished actress takes a journey into the Twilight Zone. Miss Ida Lupino stars in the 16mm Shrine, a haunting story of a haunted woman that I think you'll find interesting and perhaps shocking. We hope you'll join us then. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, we invite you to take a strange journey back in time with Mr. Gig Young, who tries to make the exodus of all men in their desperate attempt to relive the past. We offer a most bizarre story called Walking Distance, and we hope you'll be around to share it with us. Thank you, and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
An excursion into fantasy on the Twilight Zone next week as two distinguished actors, Mr. David Wayne and Mr. Thomas Gomez, appear in Escape Clause, the story of a strange contract between a mortal man and his most satanic majesty, a contract that ends most surprisingly. We hope you'll be around to see what that surprise is. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
One of next week's stars is alongside me now. She'll appear in a most unusual tale called The Lonely. It's a story that takes place on
an asteroid, and it's a most intriguing premise.
It sounds it. Next week on The Twilight Zone, Jack Warden, John Daner, and Jean Marsh appear in a bizarre tale of a man and a woman. I don't understand it either. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, a distinguished actor lends us his talents as Mr. Burgess Meredith stars in Time Enough at Last, the story of a man who seeks salvation in the rubble of a ruined world. We hope you'll share this very strange experience with us. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, we enlist the considerable literary talents of Charles Beaumont and invite you to join us in a strange and shocking dream. Our story is called Perchance to Dream and stars Richard Conte. I hope you'll be able to join next week's excursion into the Twilight Zone. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Once upon a time, there was a ship sailing from Liverpool, England to New York. It never got there, and one man on board knew why. Next week, we tell this man's story. The distinguished actor Nehemiah Persoff plays the role of Karl Lancer, a haunted man in a haunting story called Judgment Night. This ship sails next week, and we hope you'll see it off. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, three men return from a flight into space, only to discover that their nightmare has just begun. Rod Taylor, James Hutton, and Charles Aidman appear in And When the Sky Was Opened. What happens to these men once they're picked up in the desert? Well, that gives you a rough idea. You'll see next week on The Twilight Zone. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
This is the season of gift giving. Big gifts and little gifts and expensive ones and not so expensive ones. Well, next time, The Twilight Zone gives you its own peculiar, oddball brand of gift giving. Mr. Steve Cochran and Mr. Ernest Truex combine talents to tell a story about a little man who has what you need. Our next offering on The Twilight Zone.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week on The Twilight Zone, one of the most bizarre and unusual tales we've told yet. One man with four faces. Four separate and adventuresome lives that must be seen to be believed. Harry Towns, Philip Pine, Ross Martin, and Don Gordon star in The Four of Us Are Dying. This is a story designed for goosebumps. I hope we'll see you next week. Good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, we'll give you a lesson in astronomy, but the kind of lesson not taught in schools. Fritz Weaver, Edward Andrews, and Joe Moross appear in Third from the Sun. This is a story that takes place on the eve of doomsday. We hope you'll join us on The Twilight Zone. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
There's a Longfellow poem. I shot an arrow into the air, it fell to earth, I know not where. In our story next week, we shoot a spaceship into the air, and where it fell, only you and I will know. Starring will be Mr. Dewey Martin, Mr. Edward Benz. Next week, we promise you a most exciting journey into space. Don't miss the takeoff. Thank you and good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
Next week, you'll drive with Miss Inger Stevens, who starts out on what begins as a vacation and ends as a desperate flight. She begins her trip next week on The Twilight Zone. And you'll be with her when she meets the hitchhiker. We hope you'll be alongside. Good night.
And now, Mr. Serling.
species of machine known variously as slot machine or one-armed bandit. And if you've ever played with one of these things for a while, you've probably gotten a peculiar feeling that this is a machine with a mind and will of its own. This is precisely what happens when Everett Sloan contacts a fatal ailment we call the fever. You'll be an eyewitness to it next week on The Twilight Zone.
And now, Mr. Serling.
This is the model of a Newport, fighter aircraft, vintage World War I. Next week, it's flown on a patrol over France in 1917, and its pilot discovers that time has passed him by. Kenneth Haig stars next week in Richard Matheson's exciting story of the last flight on The Twilight Zone. We hope you'll join us. Thank you, and good night.